Hello and welcome to today's Opsview webinar. My name's Helen Carroll, VP of Marketing, and joining me today is Scott Hayhoe, VP of Products and Partners, and Bren, our Sales Engineering Consultant. Exciting webinar. We're taking you through what's new in 6.4. We will record the session and we'll share it with you afterwards. I know some of you have had difficulties and your colleagues with not receiving emails and invites. Please have a look at your spam filters. I think for some reason we're getting blocked from many of your emails. Please stay on mute. We've got a lot of people on the line. Any questions, please ask those in the chat facility and we'll do our very best to get to those at the end. I'm going to hand over to Scott.
Perfect. Thanks, Helen, and thanks everybody for joining today. As Helen says, please do put your questions into the chat channel, and if we get any easy ones, then I'm sure Helen will ask those of Brent and myself a bit later on. If we get any that are a bit specific or will take a longer answer, then we'll absolutely get back to you after today. So yeah, great to see so many of you. I had a quick scan through people who had registered, and I know some of us have spoken to each other directly in the past couple of weeks. So good to see some of you on the call today. Let's crack straight on. I just wanted to sort of take a step back before we go into the features. Sometimes people say to me, "Well, how do you decide what goes on the roadmap? How do you decide what goes into the product itself? Should you be putting more effort into fantastic wow features? Should you be putting more into sort of core monitoring? Should you be addressing security?" As I often say, the best part of this job is I get to speak with a lot of you to really understand what are your challenges, what are your needs, where your business is going, what are your IT challenges, and bringing all of those ideas back to Opsview and deciding, well, what goes in the roadmap for the next 6, 12, 18 months. I've got to put some sort of boundaries around it. So the strategy that we follow is built on 3 principles. So every time I get an idea, you have an idea, and you tell me about it. We see what's happening in the market. It comes in and we have a look. Does it fit through this strategy? So the first thing is really focusing on monitoring. That's what we do. We do cloud and infrastructure monitoring. That has to be on a stable and scalable foundation. A lot of you transitioned from version 5 to version 6. We built scalability and performance into 6 in particular. So that continues. And as you'll see, we've put a lot of effort as well into security with 6.4, and I'll mention a couple of specific things. So that's the sort of the first filter, is the stable foundations, having a look at the technology that we monitor through the ops packs, and that continues to evolve as new technologies come online. Everything's software defined these days, and so on. On top of the solid foundations and the core monitoring, the second pillar is all around, having done that and continuing to do that, where can we innovate? And so, you'll have seen we released an ops pack for Kubernetes tail end of last year. That's an area that continues to evolve, and I know some of you have growing needs for more dynamic monitoring in those areas, Kubernetes, Docker, microservices, and so on. Machine learning, again, that's something that's a bit further out on our roadmap, but we do have some prototypes that I'm always happy to share with people. So we can get innovative in those different areas. And I mentioned business service monitoring there as well, and that's a key deliverable in 6.4 that we'll have a little bit more of a look at. And the third principle really is making sure that all of this fits together into a user journey that flows. And you'll see as Brent brings this to life in sort of 10-15 minutes time, as we look at business service monitoring in particular, you'll see how that journey, that end-to-end journey, flows in a way that really should make your lives much easier and dare I say enjoyable, finding out where issues are and so on. So I just wanted to sort of share the overall strategy, and again, I'm always happy to take people through this. Again, I've spoken to a number of you over the past weeks as we're getting into planning for what comes after 6.4. But coming back to 6.4 and the highlights that we'll step through. At the top, business service monitoring 2.1. We'll take a look at that in a second. That's really is a radical move forward on BSM. Why did I decide to invest so heavily in that? Well, because when I joined Opsview last year, I spoke to 20, 30 different customers. Some of you were kind enough to share your thoughts, and there was a lot of feedback on BSM as being a great idea that had never really come to proper fruition. So I heard that from so many people, and coming into Opsview, I realised that this could be really powerful. So we've started down a route of investment on BSM, and we'll have a look at that. Secondly, as you would expect, bottom right there, as I say, we get a lot of requests for software-defined networking, software-defined data centers, and Cisco seems to be on a real big push into that space. So some ops packs for Cisco OpenStack as well, and some other improvements in Azure. So whilst AWS is certainly probably the most prevalent amongst you all, Azure is catching up dramatically, and we'll have a little look at that in a second. And then the plumbing. The stuff that's below the line that we have to do, the security improvements, the general issues and feature requests, and I'll touch on Python in a little bit more detail. So these are the sort of the headlines, and this is where it fits into the strategy. And whilst I and you certainly have lots and lots of ideas, I have to bring it down into the reality of what can we build and what will make your lives much easier. So that's how we've got to 6.4. So let's open the box a little bit. A couple of definitional things just to start with, because BSM, business service monitoring, is important. Just want to make sure that we're all on the same page about this. So a business service, it could be an end-to-end service. It could be something big and visible. It could be your e-commerce engine. It could be your ticketing system. It could be your database services, and so on. Those big end-to-end services that go together to essentially service your business. Or it could be something very specific, IT estate related, like everything in a data center, for example. You could create a business service for that. What's very popular with our managed service provider customers is to break up the IT estate and assign one business service to each chunk of that estate, one per customer. So if you're managing the estate of customers, having all of that grouped together under a business service means you can have a look at the end-to-end availability in real time of that part of the customer's estate, and you can manage and report on your customer SLAs through that as well. And there's a real big change that Brent will show you around real-time SLAs. So the sort of summary of a business service, it's a collection of hosts that end-to-end connected together, make sure that a particular business service runs. And the flip side of that is that if you've got one host on the critical path through that, then if that fails, then the service fails. And that's what's really important about this, because you need to identify where those are so that you can do something about them. So we know what a business service is. Again, I know some of you use BSM extensively, others not at all yet. But the real advantages of monitoring those business services, again, you can very quickly have a look at a service. You can see where there's a failure. You can drill down to it. You can fix it. You can head off issues as well. You can have a look where you've got resilience and redundancy built into your IT estate. So where you've got two hosts and maybe you only need one of them to be operational. If one goes down, then you can fix that whilst the other one maintains the service. Because of the way that the business service views are constructed, there's a really nice overview that you could imagine sharing with your senior management, your COO, even above and outside your NOC or your SOC or whatever else. Certainly monitoring SLAs for customers, as I mentioned. And at the end of the day, your business, every business relies on those business services running. And there's lots in the headlines about companies that they lose an essential business service like ticketing, for example. A couple of airlines in the not too distant past, the ticketing systems went down, and they lost revenue, they lost reputation, they lost all sorts of things. So having this very high level view through BSM can really elevate the position of IT monitoring to be, as we know it is, business critical. So let me just give you some examples. If some of you joined the BSM webinar back in, I think, June time, you might recognise some of these slides. So one of our customers, large managed service provider, as I say, what they do, they've got several hundred customers, and they've got one BSM view for every customer there, so they can see at a glance, what's happening in that particular customer. They produce their monthly SLA reports, and many of their customers have got remote hosts, remote devices that they need monitoring. So it's quite a wide-ranging IT estate that they've chopped up per customer. So again, this might be something you might want to consider if you're managing estate on behalf of customers. Or we have other customers that they have multiple offices and they want to break up their IT estate, with one view per office, for example. And if you want to work on SLA improvement, this is a great place to start. And we have one customer that shares, in fact more than one actually, that shares these BSM views, these monthly reports directly with their end customers as well. So not just their own eyes on them, but customers' eyes as well. Another example in the US, healthcare IT. So from the navigator view, using that to create a BSM view, and the picture in the middle is probably the BSM view that you're used to. It's BSM 1.0, as we might call it now. It's what's been available in Opsview Monitor now for a couple of years. You can see how radically different the view is in BSM 2.1. So again, critical services. One BSM for each of those critical services. We can see what's that e-commerce there, for example, top right. So that's another way of using it. What's this one? This is a networking company in the UK. So they've broken their estate up not into sort of physical chunks, but into service chunks here. So different parts of their estate with different elements that they're connecting together. And again, you can see the sort of the classical view, the BSM 1 view, and the BSM 2 view. I know this particular customer has some of these on their large monitors in their network operations center. I'd love to see the diagram on the top right, the new BSM view, up in your NOC, up in your reception area when your customers start coming back through your reception, in your senior management offices as well when they come back, or at home, wherever they are. So different ways of using business services there. I'm not going to spend too long on this slide because, as I say, Brent's going to bring all of this to life for us in a second. But this is what BSM 2.1 looks like, and it really is a lot different to existing BSM. And it's not just look and feel. I mean, I was really keen that we invested in the look and feel, the user flow, the navigation, all of that stuff. But it's got to do something as well. It's it's got to be able to communicate information up and down your management chain, which it does. It's got to be able to highlight where issues are and allow you to get to them quickly, which it does. It's got to allow you to filter your views so that you can just focus on those things that have fallen over and not all of those other things that might not have done. So there's a real user journey, there's a real benefit approach to this. We'll take a look at this in a second. Some other things, as I say, we see a lot of software-defined networking data centers. We get requests for OpenStack monitoring as well. So we added actually three new ops packs specifically. The ACI ops pack, we actually backported it to 6.3, so that became available as a backport to 6.3. But that and Cisco UCS and OpenStack are all part of 6.4. So if you have those technologies, you'll find ops packs now that will monitor those technologies. And as I say, with Azure, we're finding more and more demand for that, that's for sure. And Azure as well are expanding their services and the things that need monitoring as well. So, we go wider and deeper with Azure. And I was talking to one of you a couple of weeks ago, and you're moving pretty much all of your estate to Azure, for example. So, people are placing a little bit more of a bet now on one vendor or the other. So whilst AWS is still the most prevalent, as I say, and that's in general as well as amongst Opsview customers, Azure is catching up very rapidly. And some other general monitoring improvements, as you would expect, so things like IPv6. And they can get all of this detail through the Knowledge Center if you want even more detail. And these new ops packs, of course, are up on the website and all of those good places. Something below the waterline. Every now and again you have to do a whole load of plumbing. And one of our customers in particular, the security team said, wow, by the end of this year, you need to remove everything that's Python 2. Python 2 no longer supported, and if any new security vulnerabilities appear, then they might or might not be supported by the vendor. So we've stripped out Python 2 and put Python 3 in there. Up to you if you want that. If you want to remove Python 2 completely, you might be using it for other things. But as far as Opsview is concerned, we've taken all of that out, and if you're running security scans and it's looking for Python, it'll only find Python 3 now. So again, if you've got any pressure from your security teams, your info security teams around this, then it is all plumbing, it's all below the waterline, but it's absolutely essential if that's a concern that's being raised by other parts of your business. So I recommend getting onto 6.4 for that reason. Something else we did last year was made Opsview Monitor available as a service, Opsview Cloud. Now, because of that, we took the chance to revisit security testing. We've outsourced penetration testing now, so we're not marking our own homework anymore. We've got a third-party company doing that and identifying security improvements. Now, because it's the same code base, whether you're installing it on premises or whether we're installing it in a cloud instance and managing all of that for you, we will find and we'll continue to uncover as new vulnerabilities appear out in cyberspace. We will be fixing them as they come along. So again, whilst cloud customers will have had these fixed and released along the way, because we do that for them, monitor customers, you'll generally have received a patch for this. So this takes up more time than any of us would ever like, and I'm sure you're all the same with your own systems as well. This is one of those, it's good to know that we're putting so much effort into this sort of slides as well. So again, mostly below the watermark, but again, it's a great way to avoid the headlines, really, for sure. Last but not least, again, you very kindly give us challenges. You deploy Opsview in ways we'd never even thought about, and that causes things to pop up that we have to fix or address or configure or fine tune or just plain learn from. Thank you to everybody that does come in through that route. 51 of you that we know about will absolutely benefit from improvement bug fixes that we've put into 6.4. So those names are in no particular order or focus. It's just the way the word cloud generated them. If you want the detail, then go into the Knowledge Center, and that's where you'll get more detail on that. Please do keep those coming in, because we do look at any issues that are raised, and we've got processes in place to hit the fire alarm bell if it's something that's causing you a data loss or an outage or something. We'll get onto that within 30 minutes. If it's something that's causing a bit of pain but there's a workaround for example, we'll put that into our 2-weekly cycle. Or if it's something that's a much lower impact, then we'll put it into sort of depending really the sort of 4 to 8 week cycle. So we've got different levels in which we put those in, but you've got to keep telling us about those for sure. Right, so I think I'm going to hand over to Brent.
Okay, thank you, Scott. I'm just waiting for the ball to be passed to me, and I can share my screen and talk to you about business service management. Okay, here we go. Hopefully this should be coming up get that out of the way. Okay. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. And what I wanted to show you today is our improved look and feel and really the core functionality of BSM as an improvement. So you see here kind of the diagrams that Scott had showed you in the presentation as actual service icons. So if we can look at just the ability to filter this. So there's some options here to change the layout. So if you want to make it bigger or smaller, emphasize different level of icons, we can change those. So probably makes more sense to apply those with a filter, just the online, just the impacted, just the offline downtime, and then also the ability to sort those. I know some of you folks are using quite a few BSMs, and maybe it makes more sense to go A to Z. Maybe it makes sense availability in descending. So the lowest availability is last. So by default, we give a status ascending, and you can sort those. Obviously, green is good, red is bad, and as we start to drill down, it works much the same way that our previous version of BSM looked, but a bit more appealing and a bit easier to follow. You can see here that with SAP, we're 100% available, but we do have a check mark there. The check mark indicates a subcomponent is in a failure state. And we can see as we start to drill down into the app cluster, we see a particular Unix host with a Unix load problem. We do have an operational rule set. You can see the gradient tint here saying that it's pretty much a 50% rule. One has to be up for the application to be responding. So we're not impacting that high-level service availability. We're still at 100%. But there is some risk introduced in providing that business service to the customer. If we want to investigate, we can actually go down to that individual server, that individual service check that is in error, and we can see its state, how long it's been there, when it first came in, the status type, all of the rich information that you're used to. And then we can also graph that out over time. So we can see over the last day, we've had some peaks and valleys, but if we pop over to the last week, sure enough, we see some interesting behavior in some of the load averages coming in. Very dynamic, and you can pick and choose kind of graphing. And really the important thing here is we've gotten down to an individual service check on an individual server from the highest of levels, from that business service level. I don't know if you're counting, but that was 2 or 3 clicks, I think. We got down to that real basic level. If we want to scroll back to that, we can go to monitoring, back to BSM. We're at that high level again. We could go down to the service check level as well, so at the host. So we can actually see that host, and that's where you can start to compare. The load average is impacted, but what about the CPU? You can run those checks. If you want to rerun that as well, we can troubleshoot this and get that instant information. That's great. You told me it was okay in the last sample cycle. What about right now? What can we do to triage and troubleshoot this and know which direction to go into? So that is really the culmination of that BSM visualization and giving you really all the information put together at the highest of levels. And this could be, as Scott mentioned, kind of a knock wall. It could be a line of business person looking at this information. It could be an operator. From here, it's a jumping off point. Where do you want to drill down? Where do you want to start to triage? Typically in IT, I think the standard is we spend a majority of our time looking for that needle in the haystack. And once you find it, it's real easy to get experts and SMEs to fix the problem. But a lot of time is wasting just trying to find that. So hopefully here we give you a better means to get to kind of that discrete event that has happened in your infrastructure, and you can restore service all the quicker. Mean time to repair is reduced at that point. So thank you very much, and Scott, I'll pass back over to you.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Brent. Right, so let me see if I can share back again. Right, here we go. There we go. Right, so yeah, having brought that to life, thanks very much, Brent. You didn't get to show any Python 3. It's one of those things, isn't it? It's just below the waterline, so you don't get to see it. Never mind.
Right.
Right, so I just wanted to touch on a few other things. Around, so we've had a look at the features. We've described as I say, some of the things below the waterline, the plumbing, all of that good stuff that we spend time on. Just wanted to put BSM 2.1 sort of back into the spotlight a little bit. You know, as I mentioned, the reason that I chose to invest so much time, effort into BSM is feedback from you. As I say, I spoke to more than 20 different customers, probably more than 30 different individuals last year, and you know, you gave me some great feedback on BSM. So again, whilst we have one customer who I think's got nearly 300 BSMs up and running, we have quite a lot of you who are not using BSM, not very much or not at all yet. Hopefully, the advantages of the new way of doing things is sort of jumping out at you in terms of, you know, just having that observability across your IT estate, across your customers' IT estate, across your business services. That's going to help with communicating up and down. I don't know if you saw it actually when Brent was there. I think his system was behaving itself today. Sometimes we'll have something you know, sort of fall over in the demo system, you know, semi-intentionally, and that'll show a service degrading, and so you've got your real-time availability counter there that sort of starts tracking downward, and that'll drive action for sure. So again, whilst BSM up to this point has been a little bit more of an historical kind of snapshot in terms of, you know, where things are and what have they been up to. This really does give real-time availability, so that's a big change. You know, it looks a lot better. It's easier to navigate around the place, but you're getting real-time information there. Now, in terms of getting going, as I say, some of you have invested a lot of time, you know, building your initial BSMs. A lot of you haven't, and some people are saying, well, you know, where do I start? What's the best way to get going? A couple of ways of doing it. There's, you know, clearly the sort of the manual way of knitting together your hosts into a service. On the other hand, if you have configuration management database, then we can pull that in through the API to you know, to start off that BSM creation. Now, in order to help with that, we've put together a couple of different things. The first is a sort of a BSM deep dive, really. So it's probably a little bit more than tips and tricks. It's really a deep dive into BSM, and that's on the 18th of November. So get yourself signed up to that webinar, to that training on the 18th of November. I think you should have been sent a link to that, or Helen will tell us at the end where that is. Something else that we've pulled together is with our consultants is to help you with a jumpstart program. So that'll start off with a 1 hour call, just scoping out what it is you'd like to do. You know, which BSMs do you want to get created? What do you want to use it for? What kind of time scales and so on. And then we'll have half a day having a look and understanding the size and shape of your IT estate, just so that we get all of that, you know, common understanding. And then we'll make some best practices, some recommendations as well, and we'll capture that in the statement of work. Depending on the complexity of your environment, you know, it might be that we can, you know, in a day create sort of 4 or 5 BSMs if you want some extensive type things creating, or it might be more if you've got you know, simpler things to do. So we'll kind of capture that in a way that we all understand, and get that all scheduled in. And then you know, it's a lot about knowledge transfer. So yes, we could build these for you, but you know, really we want you to get going with BSM 2.1, start using it. So we'll, you know, transfer as much knowledge as we can through that, and then optionally, you know, to check in with you, see if you've got any other thoughts, anything else that we might be able to help with. You can put that together into a complete services bundle. So some of you have already started to take advantage of the assisted upgrade to 6.4. That's something that we've offered with every release, and we can do it whether you're on an older version, an unsupported version, I have to say now, of like version 5.4.2, we can move you on to 6.4, or whether you're on something like 6.3 and just want a bit of help to move to 6.4. Now, importantly, that anything you've written, any custom scripts, configurations, and so on you've written, they get brought across during that assisted upgrade as well. A couple of other things that some of you take advantage of every now and again is, having upgraded, or maybe before you upgrade even, is just do a health check, just to see how your monitoring is set up, and if there are any, recommendations, any changes, any fine tuning. We've got visibility across, a good few hundred installations of Opsview and how they're used, and very happy to share that knowledge with you, that best practice, run a health check, and then based on that, or even separately, if you're happy enough with your system, we can really have a look at the performance, so not just the setup, the architecture and that kind of stuff, but how is it performing, any bottlenecks, any throughputs, any deployment suggestions that will improve performance. So we can do that, and then you'd be in a great place for that Jumpstart package. So whether you want the Jumpstart package by itself, because everything's fine where you are, you move yourselves to 6.4, or you want us to do it and do some health checking, performance tuning on the way through. Again, a few different options there. Talk to your account manager. So just wrapping up, really. So things to think about, things to do next. Hopefully you've been receiving communications details about what's new. There's plenty of stuff, as I say, on the Knowledge Centre. We've been asking the account managers to be calling out to you. So if you've noticed incoming calls, then it's our guys telling you about 6.4 and so on. And yeah, really do take a look at 2.1. A question I think that somebody asked me actually a couple of weeks ago is, this looks great, but what about our existing views? Will they be carried over automatically? And the answer is yes. And if you decide for whatever reason you want to have a look at the classic view, you can jump back to the classic view as well. So you can kind of compare the two if you want to see how they look differently. But I think it's the way in which they behave differently that's the biggest change. Jumpstart package services package, and as I say, you want a deeper dive into BSM in particular, then webinar 18th of November is your place. Of course, if you want access to these features sooner, as you know, we bundle up all of these changes that we've made into a release, and this one's called 6.4. For Opsview Cloud customers, they've been getting these as they've been built. So some of the Ops packs were available much earlier in the year. So, different parts of BSM as they were built, the grid view and then the problem view and so on, as they were added, those are just made available, as we get through the sprint cycles with cloud, and we'll do all of the admin and security patching and all of that good stuff. So that's something always to have a think about. And last but absolutely not least, and this is really closing the loop again. As I say, when I joined Opsview middle of last year, the first thing that I did was speak to as many customers as I could, and some of you kindly responded in email. Others I managed to have some very, very good telephone conversations with. And some of you I visited as well. I was looking forward to some great trips actually at the start of this year until nobody was traveling anymore, which is a bit unfortunate. But there's lots of ways to get hold of me: email, call me. I always have a look at the tickets that are coming in and all of that good stuff as well. We've got processes for that. But if you want me to go through this in a bit more detail, you want me to share the strategy a bit more, understand where you're going, always happy to do that. I try to regularly check in with customers anyway, as we're planning on what to do next. So if you've got a particularly strong view on something like time series forecasting, so not just the disks run out of space, but actually the disk's going to run out of space next Tuesday. We've got some machine learning prototypes for that. That happy to share with you. BSM, looks great. We want to get going on a configuration toolkit next. Is there other technology that you think we should be going wider on, deeper on? as you're pursuing your Azure strategy, your Kubernetes strategy, what are the things that you're looking for? This is why I've got the best job of anybody on this call. I tell you, it's fantastic because I get to talk to all of you and understand what it is you want to do. And then the hardest part is trying to figure out, because I'd love to do it all, so I have to make the hard decisions and decide what it is that's going to be built next. We get through a lot of stuff, so please do get in touch with me. I'm always very happy to talk to you and the broader team. And if you want a customized presentation on or discussion really on the strategy and the roadmap, then do get in touch. It will be more of a discussion. You'll be doing more talking than I will. I guarantee that, because I just want to know what it is you want to do really. So hopefully that's given you a bit of insight into what's in 6.4, where it's come from, and how to help me with the next things that are coming down the line as well. So, Helen, questions?
Hey, thank you, Scott. So Brent, myself, and you are unmuted to answer these questions. Just a couple of points of clarification, Scott. You talked about the Ops Pack and the availability. Are they only available in 6.4? Do people have to upgrade to access those Ops Packs?
Oh gosh, that's always a more complicated answer than I ever want it to be. So we usually backport and make available for any supported version the Ops Packs. So that's normally the way in which we do this. Of course, we'd love to get you onto 6.4, and that's what we build for first. But yeah, typically we will backport them for any supported version, and that would include 6.3, 2.1, 6.0, etc. But nothing before 6, because 5 and earlier is deprecated.
And I think when you're on the opsview.com website, if you go to the Ops Pack page and you select the Ops Pack that you want to download and access, it will tell you what product version you need to be running as well. And obviously Opsview Cloud has all of the latest Ops Packs available to them. Another question, Scott, on BSM 2.1, do customers have to upgrade to access BSM 2.1?
Yes, so that's available in 6.4. So yeah, I mean that's the place to go, and it's hopefully you've seen enough today that encourages you to move to 6.4.
Fabulous. I think this question might be for Brent. Can I ask why a green tick was chosen to indicate a problem on the BSM screen? Why not a red one?
Yeah, good observation. It really could be at any level. I just thought to show the operational rule kind of lower, but if you can envision in your mind's eye the SAP icon as I showed you going red, and then you can actually drill down to that lower level. If both of those systems that I showed you had gone down, could do that. And also there's a problems filter, so you can eliminate everything else and just show the kind of the direct path to the error that caused the failure. So it's really flexibility of the tool. It can be used in any fashion that you want to filter and really cut out steps of drilling down and getting to the root cause of what caused that business service to be unavailable.
Thanks, Brent. And Darren posted a question. Darren will follow up with you after this webinar to help answer that question. Any more questions? You can post it in the chat facility, please. We've got one more question coming through. You said that older BSMs will be migrated across to BSM 2.1. Is that the case for BSMs that are on version 5?
Well, it's a good question, actually. Yeah, that should be fine, so long as you go from 5 to 6. I think you need to go from 5.4 to 6.0. That'll come across, and then if you move to 6.4 after that, then yeah, as I say, the views part of it is interchangeable. So you'll bring your old views in, existing views in, current views in, and then they'll display in the new way. So yeah, that'll come across. You just have to do it in a couple of hops, to say from 5 to 6, and then to 6.4.
But Scott, of course, the customer support team can help with those upgrades via the assisted upgrade.
Yeah, that's right. So a second upgrade, and then the BSM Jumpstart as well, if you want some more creating, or you want those that you have created to be sort of fine-tuned, etc.
Okay, great. Thank you. There are no more questions coming through, and we're nearly out of time. So Scott, Brent, thank you very much for the insightful webinar today. And for everyone that's still on the line, we will share the recorded presentation with you probably tomorrow. It won't go out today. Any questions, please contact your account managers. You've got an address there in the chat facility, so feel free to contact me as well. Thank you, everyone, and have a good evening. Have a good day.
Thanks very much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.